Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Lots of card prices are jumping this week due to the Black Friday/Cyber Monday shopping. New commander builds coming out of Innistrad Crimson Vow are still driving a lot of card prices this week. There's a lot to talk about. As a matter of fact, because the market did get a little more turbulent this week, I did make the threshold $3. We're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving at least $3. Also in today's video, I have no cards going down in value. Everything you're going to see is going up in value today. Quickly before we get started though, just a fast reminder, if you go to flipsidegaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pick up Crimson Vow products there, but they have a whole lot of other things on their website too. Remember, if your order is over $100 or it consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that are Standard Legal moving the most this week. I have two, and they're both going up in value. The first is Olivia Crimson Bride. This goes up $3.57 this week to $13.84. Vampires, of course, got a big push from Innistrad Crimson Vow and the Vampiric Bloodline Commander deck. This is a good upgrade to that deck, and I have seen players putting this in fresh builds around Strephon, Mauer, Progenitor as well. This is a fairly popular vampire commander and can be found in Alper Markov builds and Ani Maid of Dishonor. And the second card is Cultivator Colossus. It goes up $4.33 this week to $23.76. This card got hot during the pre-release time due to its combo potential with Abundance. In Standard, I am seeing this show up in a number of different builds on Arena currently. We'll have to see how they pan out though. Right now it is showing up more consistently in Simic Tempo, for example. In Modern, this is starting to appear in Amulet Titan. That's kind of interesting. We'll have to see if that sticks. In Commander, this is in Omnith Locus of Creation and some other builds. Plus, this card was discussed on the Command Zone podcast this week too, which could have brought some more attention to it. And that quickly takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Again, we only have a couple cards to talk about. They're both going up in value. The first one is Twilight Prophet from Rivals of Ixalan. It goes up $3.45 this week to $40.67. This was just added to the list with Crimson Vow, so that is worth noting. It is a great Commander Vampire card, getting additional play now, as you may have guessed. It's often in Edgar Markov. It's another good upgrade to Vampiric Bloodline. Again, I have seen people putting this in fresh builds around Strephon as well. Plus, you can see this now in new commander builds around cards from the main set. Things like Olivia Crimson Bride, Ani Maid of Dishonor, and Edgar Charmed Groom. And the second card is Serpent of Yawning Depths. It goes up $3.66 this week to $15.71. Now, this one is a theme booster rare from Theros Beyond Death, so it is harder to find than a regular rare from the main set. This is seeing increased commander play in Runo Stromkirk / Crothus Lord of the Deep. And that brings us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. 5 cards going up in value. Let's see what they are. The first one is Urza's Saga of $5.51 to $34.96. I'm kind of surprised this is just showing up now in these videos. It feels like it could have shown up for a number of weeks just because it's seeing a ton of play. Not just in Modern either. This is in a lot of different decks all over the place. But let's talk about Modern first. You'll find this in Hammer Time, Amulet Titan, Jund, and much more. Legacy, it's in Lands, 8 Cast, Death and Taxes, Painter, and more there. In Vintage, you'll see this in 4-color Tinker, Prison Shops, 8 Cast, and more in that format too. And it is a solid commander card, seeing more play now in Toxrill the Corrosive builds. Next we have Yawgmoth Thran Physician. The Time Spiral Remastered copy is up $4.57 this week to $33. The Modern Horizons copy goes up $6.19 to $32.95. This is in Modern Yawgmoth Sacrifice. It is a fairly popular commander now too, and it is in the 99 of many builds as well. It is getting additional play now in Toxrill decks too. Chalice of the Void, that Masters 25 copy has been very turbulent. This week it's going up again. It's up $6.91 to $77.95. So of course this has been a huge Modern sideboard card in this post-Modern Horizons 2 meta. It can even show up in main decks at times. It also continues to be a solid card in Legacy and Vintage, plus it gets a little commander play too. Another card that sees a lot of Modern play, this is Solitude. It was losing some value recently after some big increases. Now we see it going up again as it tries to find its price point. It is up $7.04 this week to $64.99. When it comes to Modern, you're going to see this in 4-color Blink, Azorius Control, 4-color Omnith, Reanimator, 4-color Elementals, and much more. Legacy, this is in Death and Taxes, And it also gets a little commander play too in various builds. And the last card in this section is Hunted Horror. This goes up 763 to 1888. Now this is in a Torpor Orb Hunted Horrors modern deck that got some attention at GP Vegas. This is also seeing increased commander play in 2 new builds coming from Crimson Vow, Toxrill and Umbra Sphere Manifest. Alright, that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, 93, 94, or cards that are just popular among collectors currently. Now remember, when it comes to the older, more iconic vintage cards, if you go to your price tracking websites, you're going to see a value there that typically falls somewhere in between high-grade raw and high-grade graded copies. Sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's skewing either closer to one or the other. The reason I bring that up is because in this section, the prices you're going to see are very reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website, because these cards just don't sell all the time. However, if there is a discrepancy from the price and what I'm seeing when it comes to recent sales, I will let you know. Rofellos Llanowar Emissary. Now this card's banned in Commander. You can't blame that format for the increase. It's going up $341 this week to $57.99. Next we have Swamp. Not any Swamp though. It's the one you see on the screen from 7th edition. In theory going up $482 to $670, but in reality this is a case where this particular copy of the card just dried up online. How does that happen? Well, most likely somebody decided they wanted to grab a bunch of copies of this for a deck, and because there's not a ton of copies of any given Swamp online at any given time, it just completely dried up. The remaining copies are overpriced, which is why you're seeing this weird inflation. In reality, this is very overvalued, obviously, but it is an interesting phenomenon that can occur. Many times players do like the white border lands as well because they are easier to see when they're fetching. Hope you like seeing revised dual lands because there's a number of them in this section today. I think a lot of people took advantage of Black Friday sales to pick up some. First, we have Savannah. It goes up $501 this week to $374.99. Volcanic Island from Revised is up $505 to $799.89. Scrubland from Revised is up $577 to $385. Badlands from, you guessed it, Revised is up $925 to $484.99. Another one, Tropical Island from Revised, up $952 to $703. Alright, I'm sure we'll see more later, but right now we have Jacques Levert. It goes up $1055 this week to $79.95. Lion's Eye Diamond, this is up $1371 to $599.99. Now this sees Legacy play in Doomsday, 8-cast, Painter, Urza Echo, Mystic Forge Combo, Azorius, Bomberman, and Madness. On top of that, it has seen increased commander play too, and a couple new builds. Grolnok the Omnivore, and Eruth Tormented Prophet. Northern Paladin from Unlimited goes up $13.98 this week to $119.95. Abu Jafar from Arabian Nights is back again up $14.58 to $82.50. Mana Crypt. Another thing you're going to see today is a lot of the commander staples jumped up this week. Again, I think it has to do with Black Friday. People taking advantage of some sales to pick up the cards that they want for commander builds. The Eternal Masters copy goes up $11.28 to $198.94. The Double Masters copy goes up $15.25 to $186.63. Last week we saw the Mystery Booster copy going up. This week that one was rather stable. Now when it comes to gameplay and Vintage, you'll see this in 4-color Tinker, Prison Shops, 8-cast, Paradoxical Outcome, and Aggro Shops. It is also, like I mentioned, a very highly played commander card. Sometimes it's an Alper Markov and much more. I have seen this in new builds too, like Toxrill, Grolnok, and Runo. Plus, this got a Command Zone podcast mention this week as well. Goblin King from Unlimited goes up $21.21 to $150.47. Gaia's Cradle from Urza Saga, rebounding a little from some recent losses. It goes up $21.69 this week to $1,021.19. In Legacy, you'll see this in Elves as well as Maverick. Vintage, it's in Squee Hollowvine. And of course, it is a great commander card in many builds if you're lucky enough to have one. I have seen this in some Grolnok decks recently too. Merchant Ship is up $22.41 this week to $134.95. Another revised dual land, Taiga, goes up $23.89 to $444.64. Force of Nature from Unlimited up $30.80 to $78.98. Cabal Ghoul up $34.39 to $249.99. Tundra from Revised is up $37.81 to $580.48. Mana Flare from Unlimited up $42.54 to $112.50. Lich from Unlimited up $42.71 to $299.99. Old Man of the Sea goes up $43.38 this week to $445. Cockatrice from Unlimited up $49.01 to $99.99. Island Sanctuary, also from Unlimited, up $64.99 to $101.74. Vesuvan Doppelganger, again from Unlimited, up $375.47 to $999.95. So that is quite a jump. Is that price for real? Well, I'll tell you this much. I've seen high-grade raw copies sell for about $260. I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while. There was an 8 that sold for about $485, so it's not out of the question that a higher grade could get around this price point. And finally in this section we have Island of Wak Wak going up in theory $618 to $2,387.99. Is that for real? Well, high-grade raw copies can sell for about $525. A very nice graded copy did sell recently for over $38.50. This price is in between, but leaning towards the high-grade graded price. And that brings us to the Commander Spotlight, kind of your best of the rest. All the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, but in some cases there are other reasons which we'll discuss as we go through. First we have Allosaurus Shepherd. This is up $301 to $70.11, rebounding a little bit after some pretty big losses. Once more of this Jumpstart product got out there, this card did calm down a little bit. This is solid in Elf Commander builds like Lathril Blade of the Elves, for example. It's also showing up in some Grolnak Commander builds now too. And in Legacy, you'll see this in Elves decks there. Brood Sliver. This is the Premium Deck Series Slivers copy. This particular one only comes in foil. It goes up $305 this week to $1661. This is in Commander Sliver builds like Sliver Overlord, for example. Morphic Pool from Battle Bond. This goes up $319 to $33.50. Great Commander mana base card. It's in a lot of new Commander decks too that happen to be black and blue. Things like Runo, Toxrill, and Umbris. Serra Sanctum up $320 to $349.57. This is good in enchantment heavy Commander builds like Sithis Harvest Sand, for example. Misty Rainforest, the copy from Modern Masters 2017. It's up $333 this week to $37.99. These enemy fetch lands have been soft ever since their reprinting in Modern Horizons 2, but now some copies are beginning to show signs of life again, like this one. Misty Rainforest is seeing more Commander play now in Grolnak, but it is a fetch land, and you know you're going to see it in a lot of different builds and a lot of different formats. Not only is it in Commander, but it's also in a lot of decks in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Feldegriff, another Black Friday favorite here, I think. This is a fairly popular Commander. It's on the reserve list. It goes up $335 this week to $23.17. Phyrexian Altar from Ultimate Masters. It goes up $343 this week to $94.54. This is a great Commander card and combo enabler in various builds. You do see this in Edgar Markov occasionally. It's also showing up in some Toxrill decks now too in Commander. Also zombie Commander decks like this as well. Previously, we have seen many players get this to upgrade the Undead Unleashed Commander deck, or put in fresh builds around Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver. Ball Lightning, the original copy from the Dark, goes up $349 this week to $53.49, and this particular copy is a little dry online this week. It does get a little Commander play in like Greven Predator Captain, for example. Sensei's Divining Top from Champions of Kamigawa. This goes up $356 this week to $61.18. Very popular Commander card, seeing more play now in builds like Runo and Eruth. In Vintage, you'll see this in 4-color Tinker, 8-cast, Paradoxical Outcome, and Grixis Underworld Breach. Probably another Black Friday favorite here with Dockside Extortionist. This is a huge Commander card and combo enabler in a lot of different builds. It goes up $362 this week to $64.96. Miles Aria up $377 this week to $13.66. Solid Commander card in Gishath's Son's Avatar, for example. It also appears in a few other builds, but the reason it's moving the way it is right now is because it does combo with a recent card from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. That card is Enduring Angel / Angelic Enforcer. Sakashima Student, the copy from Plane Chase 2012. It goes up $385 this week to $58. This is in Commander Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow builds. Also, occasionally it appears in Runo Commander decks too now. However, on top of that, some are speculating that Ninjutsu may return in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty next year. Gilded Drake, this is in a number of different Commander builds, including some new ones like Grolnak and Toxrill. It goes up $390 this week to $329.99. Olivia Valderin, the Modern Masters 2017 copy goes up $304 to $21.80. The Innistrad copy up $392 this week to $22.08. Another card moving because of the vampire support I mentioned earlier. This is a fairly popular vampire commander and can be found in Edgar Markov builds. It is another good upgrade to Vampiric Bloodline. Again, I have seen people putting this in fresh builds around Strephon as well. Plus, on top of that, it's in some other new commander decks as well, like Olivia Crimson Bride and Ani Maid of Dishonor. Cormus Bell, the revised copy goes up $340 this week to $769. The 4th edition copy goes up $393 to $9.50. This is getting increased commander play now in Toxrill builds, and to a much lesser degree, I have seen this in a few Umbris decks too. Jace the Mind Sculptor for Masters 25. This is going up 418 this week to 64.94. So this is in a variety of different commander builds, and it's even showing up in some Runo decks right now. In Modern, though, this sees a lot of play too. Murktide Regent, Azorius Control, 4-color Omnith, Indomitable Creativity, and more. Legacy, you see this in 4-color, Bant, Jeskai, and Sultai Control. It's also in Jeskai Stoneblade, Jeskai Standstill. Even gets Vintage play in Standstill there. The worldwide copy of Rexiel the Risen Deep, this is going up $4.24 this week to $12. This is a fairly popular commander, and it is in the 99 of other builds too. Now it's seeing more play as well in Runo, and to a much lesser degree, Toxrill. Peacekeeper, this is up $4.57 this week to $39.99. This does get a little commander play in a few different decks. It's also in the sideboard of Legacy, Death, and Taxes. Ragavan Nimble Pilfer, again, I think this is a situation where a lot of people are waiting for Black Friday to pick this up. It goes up $4.73 this week to $84.25. Now, this has become a fairly popular commander, and it's in the 99 of a lot of decks there too. But as you know, this also sees play in other formats, especially in Modern. It's in Murktide Regent, Jund, Grixis Death Shadow, Rakdos Luris, and more. Legacy, this is in Izzet Delver, Jeskai Ragavan, Grixis Tempo, sometimes Jeskai Stoneblade. Vintage even, it sees play in Izzet Tempo, Grixis Underworld Breach, and Jeskai as well as Temur Control. Sliver Queen, this is the Sliver Lord that is on the reserve list. It can be a commander and a Sliver build, but usually you see it in the 99. It goes up $4.73 this week to $346.86. Painter Servant from Shadowmoor. This is up $4.79 this week to $59.90. This is in a few different commander builds, usually with Grindstone. In Legacy, you see this in Painter decks, of course. Mangara's Tome goes up $4.84 this week to $14.74. Sure, this can get a tad bit of commander play occasionally, but this really looks like a good old-fashioned targeted reserve list buyout. Another enemy fetch land here with Verdant Catacombs. This is the copy from Modern Masters 2017. It goes up $4.95 this week to $33.98. And again, this is in many different decks in Commander, Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Seeds of Innocence. This is up $5.16 this week to $16.25. This card remains hot. I do see this occasionally in a Commander build, but there is more attention on it now due to the fact that Blood, Treasure, Food, and Clue tokens are playing a larger role in the Commander format. Legacy may still be the key driver here, though. You are seeing this pop up in some sideboards there to bring in against Statecast. Also, due to the recent movement of this card over the past couple weeks, I assume some speculators have started to grab copies of this as well. It is a reserve list card, so you know it doesn't take too much to move the price. There's Grindstone from Tempest. It goes up $5.16 this week to $34.79. Again, this is in some Commander decks, usually with Painter's Servant. Also, it's in Legacy Painter. Time Spiral. This is up $5.45 this week to $197.42. This is getting a little increased commander play in Fresh Millicent Restless Revenant builds. It is expensive, but if you have a copy, it could be a decent upgrade just in general to Spirit Squadron. Wedding Ring. Now, this is one of those Crimson Vow cards that can only be found in Set Booster or Collector Booster packs, so keep that in mind. It's going up $6.25 this week to $37.53. Currently, it is still trying to find its price point. Remember, a lot of packs are still getting cracked. This is a fun political card in Commander, and it is showing up in a variety of different builds there, old and new. This was also discussed on the Command Zone podcast this week, which again could have brought some attention to it. Now here's a really popular Commander card. You're going to find this in a lot of different builds. It's seeing more play now in some new builds too, like Toxrill, Grolnak, and Umbris. This did get a Command Zone mention this week as well. It is Jeweled Lotus, going up $6.64 to $93.44. Grim Hireling. This is up $7.02 to $11.99. Now this is from the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Planar Portal Commander deck. It is in a number of different Commander builds, but there was a lengthy thread on a Commander message board about this card earlier in the week. Players were discussing how good the card was, which builds they put it in. Shortly after that thread started, this started to jump up in price. I do think it brought some attention to the card. Copy Artifact, the one from Revised, is up $7.16 this week to $87.94. Now, this is in Commander Urzalord High Artificer and more. I have seen this in some Toxrill builds too recently. However, this did get a mention on the Command Zone podcast as well this week as a card you might want to use to copy Wedding Ring. Goblin Wizard, this is up $7.67 this week to $128.97. So it's not too unusual to see cards from the dark on the reserve list moving up in value occasionally. especially after a weekend where there was a lot of shopping. However, I think there's a little more to this one. First off, it does see a little commander play, usually in Krenko Mob Boss decks. However, is this the best goblin to play in a commander deck? Probably not, but next year could very well be the year of goblins, and whenever goblins get hot, speculators tend to move towards this card. It's an iconic reserveless goblin. So why do I think next year could be the year for goblins? Well, look at your 4 standard sets first and foremost. 3 of them are on planes where goblins we know exist. Kamigawa, and then 2 are going to take place on Dominaria. Then we have Streets of New Capenna, and we don't know a lot about that realm other than it's going to be ruled by these demon crime lords. Feels like goblins have a chance to be lackeys at least to one of these crime lords. Plus, you know you're going to see commander decks coming out with these products like we saw this year. And on top of that, there's some other supplemental products that could help goblins along too. Things like Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate and the 4 Warhammer 40k commander decks. Survival of the Fittest from Exodus goes up $7.68 this week to $276.97. This is in a variety of different commander decks, including Kenrith the Returned King. And finally, we have Infernal Genesis. This goes up $8.84 to $10, and this is seeing increased commander play in Toxtrol the Corrosive. This has yet to be reprinted, and remember, Prophecy is a pretty old set now. It is difficult to find these in good condition online currently. So I don't have a premium spotlight this week. I was a little surprised that I did not see any premium cards moving that I really wanted to talk about, considering a lot of things were going up in value. Now, sure, there were cards moving, but I don't like to discuss the cards that are just going to go up for a short period of time because they were dry online, or cards that are targeted for a buyout. Typically, I discuss things that are moving along with the market. Maybe the card's going up because it's seeing additional play somewhere, a preview card pushed it, something like that. Nothing really stood out to me this week. With that being said, though, hey, if you're still here, thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.